For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a review video on a new product from Isabella. So with me here today I've got the Isabella Buddy. So the Isabella Buddy is basically a sort of a system that you can basically, or sides and the front, that you can attach onto your wind out cassette awning. Be it different brands, it's all compatible with the actual Buddy itself. And when it's a bit more unique in the way that it fits is actually you don't have to have the sort of enclosure, as we're going to call it, the full length of the actual wind out itself. It comes in 4 different sizes. So it's based on sort of a 3-meter width canopy upwards, but you can obviously have it fully enclosed, or of course then actually almost have it half and half. So you can go, say you've got like a 5-meter canopy, you can just go for the 340 size. So you've got a bit of sort of shelter on one side and obviously an enclosure on the other. Naturally, with Isabella, it's what you would expect in terms of the quality itself. So we use that isocryl sort of 295 material. So it's a really nice breathable material, designed to last, and due to obviously the way that the material's woven and dyed, it's all about durability and quality from that point of view. Naturally, you can even see the weave of the material itself, so you can see that interlocking part to it. So again, it's just got a lovely handle to it, and is definitely sort of very premium. Naturally, what you find as well is in terms of the dyeing process, you have that colour retention built into the product, basically because with the material, when they come to the dyeing process, is they do something called solution dyeing or dope dyeing, depends on what you want to call it, where they dye the thread rather than dye the material when it's pre-woven. This is important because essentially when you come to the lifespan of the product, it basically means it doesn't fade as quickly. The best analogy I can probably use between the two methods of sort of dyeing material is the fact that the difference between a carrot and a radish. Your carrot, i.e. your Isabella, when you cut it, the colour's all the way through the material itself. So when the UV from the sunlight starts stripping out the outer layer, it means that the colour is pure all the way through. With your traditional way, what a lot of people tend to do, not traditional, is they do the outside. So what happens is when you have that radish scenario and you cut it through, you have the colour on the outside, the pure white from the inside, and actually when that outer layer starts to strip away, as it does over time, you get the whiteness through, and it looks very tired very easily. So it's one of Isabella's sort of main traits. They attest me to kind of what they're all about. Like I said, there's 4 sizes of the sort of Buddy. You've got the 270, the 320, the 370, or alternatively the 420. So it's almost based on kind of your canopy sizes. So normally sort of 3, 3.5, 4, or 4.5 meters. Like I said, you can go for a smaller one on it. It's really nice universal. What you do is you buy the sides as a pair, and the front panel you buy additionally. It's quite thought out, so really it's designed that from when the canopy is fully retracted back to the bottom side of the under the rail, it will fit canopy's heights, should we say, at that point, from about 245 up to around about 265, but I think purely it could probably go a little bit more rainy, in terms of its overall parts. Generally, it was also worth mentioning the fact that actually it just feeds directly into the front part of the actual awning itself. So again, it's just utilising what the canopy already has. And where, like I said, this differs in a way to the conventional kind of sides is the fact that, like I said, this part can come further in the canopy. Isabella have necessarily done this because in a way that you've got a beautiful kind of foam pad. They supply a pole which basically sits on the inside of the cassette on both ends, so up on the top and down the bottom. You just stretch that, lock it in place, and it gives you a really nice firm fitting. Not only is it obviously going to give more structure to the wind out itself, but then it allows you to put the sides on. The sides are quite clever that actually basically you slot it over the top of the pole, and then it has these 3 magnets either side, really nice strong magnet that allows you to put it on top and then keep that seal as well. Naturally, for me personally, it's probably still more of a when you have wind outs, they are sort of more feather weather personally, but this is going to give it a bit more of an extra beef. If you are in kind of those more natural higher winds, really, yeah, I think for my personal opinion, you probably want to take it down. Just because it's not the same as a proper, awning which goes into cassette when it's fully wound back. But in principle, it's a really nice sort of option to give you a little bit more shelter and add a little bit more strength to it. And it's the fine touches that is really quite nice. So for example, in this pole we've got located in here, there's actually a spring, a really nice sort of like car sort of spring, suspension kind of spring, that's designed that when you've got that little bit of wind, it's not going to damage the canopy itself. It's got an element of give to it, same like a bike, you know, it's going to take that off and just give that a little bit of play. So again, you're not going to damage anything in kind of the long run. Loads of different features to talk about. So with the side panels, for example, you've got a panel within the panel. So this panel here can also be removed, so you don't have to have it in place all the time. And actually got a lovely little door that goes straight in. The panels are almost the same on either side. So what you can actually do is interchange the panels. Now what that essentially is going to do is move your door position from the front sort of the wind out to the back of the wind out, so it means you can be quite flexible. Personally, I probably prefer this setup. And actually, if your sort of habitational door into the van is right at the end, or you know, one of the ends, it means you haven't got to shut the door to come into it every single time. There's also additional beading located on the external side, so if you want to, you can buy additional things like the Isabella shadow, come off the side of it if you want an extra bit of canopy. Again, it's going to be more kind of fair weather from that point of view. And again, you've got the same thing on the front section here as well, and there are slightly different size beadings as well depending on what channel you've got on your wind out. So again, Isabella have been really kind of careful to think about that particular concept. Also, a question we do get asked quite a bit is obviously with some canopies have slightly different depths, and Isabella have thought about that with, they've got this almost extendable part, so you can actually either sort of zip that sort of fully closed, or you have got this extra bit of play, so it means it doesn't matter what awning you got, it's going to pretty much work to that point. The key point I would mention is you want to have the actual support pole on the X side of it rather than the internal side, and actually stops water then coming directly down, and really it doesn't look unsightly from that point of view. You've still got the core things in terms of the nuts and bolts how it's put together, so with the material, how they sort of double stitch the whole material and interlock it really quite nice and tightly. All of the points along the bottom have elasticated points to obviously get the additional tension, but you have also got the ability to tweak the point as well, so it doesn't matter if you're on the higher end of the range, you've still got enough play to get that side looking really quite nice and sharp. As previously mentioned, you've got 3 magnet points, and leaving a little touch of detail here will dictate kind of where your magnetic point is on top. So it's a really great way you can kind of clearly see that. And also got a lovely big mesh panel on the top here as well to help increase airflow with little button clipped together to, again, just to keep that up, keep it nice and easily, or then zip it down when you want to kind of keep the weather fully in. On the side panels, we've got beautiful Pvc windows at top, low-level ventilation point beneath it as well to help with airflow, but you can then zip it down on the sides and also along the bottom to get that pure coverage as well when you want just purely to keep the weather directly out. There is an option for curtains you can buy as well to go internally. It would be an optional extra, and you've also got the ability of adding a rear pole at the back if you wanted to push it firmly against kind of the motorhome, and you've got Isabella's kind of name's basically locking system. Name's just forgotten there, but it drops it down the bottom. Regulator tabs, that's the word. So you can basically put the pole directly down, push it into the frame, and again, it gives you a really nice sort of structure throughout all of it. Now, because of there's 4 different sizes, you've got obviously the panel widths itself. So in theory, what you can do, like I said, is remove a panel width. If, for example, you went for the 320, which essentially is almost basically kind of what we have here, which is 2 panels, you could just basically remove one of the panels, zip that part on, so you can, again, even with a smaller awning, you can have a small enclosure and an open section. So again, it's really nice and versatile from that point of view. You've also got extra ties located down the bottom here if you wanted to give it a bit more sort of support. And actually, when you come to pitch it, I would recommend once you wind the awning out fully and position that, feed the front panel in first. That's to give it a bit more extra support, and then you work on the sides afterwards. Other things to point of view is you've got kind of Isabella's basically tooth counted zips, spiral chain as well, so it's really nice to get smooth action and a lot more sort of ruggedness. And due to the nature of it, you can actually, if you want to, create a little mini veranda naturally with the panel. The zip goes down vertically as well, so you can almost have half the panel down and you get one veranda pole included with the actual awning itself. So you have one panel nicely flopped over to increase airflow and still have it from sort of solid from the other side, and that zip down the middle works really quite nicely, so again gives you that element of flexibility on site. Finally, what we mentioned obviously is the PVC mud wall around the bottom, so they are elongated, so like I said, when you have that adjustment up and you want to just cover it, you can just let that mud wall fit down, so you haven't got to worry about it coming directly in. But so let's actually pick the camera up and go inside of the awning and kind of talk through a few more features that the Buddy itself actually has. So, in fact, what we'll do before we'll not go around the outside. So you can see we've got the door here as well, retains quite nicely. You've got the classic kind of Isabella sort of porthole built into it, but like I say, it gives you a really lovely sort of enclosure. You've got the veranda pole, which I said comes as standard exactly with it itself, and actually the way it's been designed, you can't really see the pole door is at the top. You still have access to the sort of fix clip system, where it allows you to extend and actually keep it on. But you can't really see the point there, and you see it sits really nice and tightly up to the point up there. A little bit of a pointing down the bottom, so you've got extra bit sort of skirt to the point, so you can get your sort of draft seal part. Velcro pads located at the top again, ideally meant for the pad. And again, you've got this extra point located here, so even with adjustment, you can still get it sitting really quite nice and smartly. As previously mentioned, the curtain points are an extra, but you've got the rail running throughout the whole part, so it doesn't matter if you change the panels over, you've still got a decent amount of coverage to get an element of privacy as and when you wanted to. The veranda poles, you get one including standard, and you can go an even panel, and you've got these little points located like so, just to kind of again give you the option of kind of creating it as you want it to. But you can see obviously with the clearance of the door, as with your typical wind out, I mean it depends on the wind out positioning on the vehicle of where it kind of ends up to. But you also can see the magnets we've got running at the side, so you kind of said have those in the middle of the roof, because really you're magnetising directly onto the side panel itself. But I think generally looks really, really quite nice and smart. I think Isabella have done a really good job of something that's quite nice and versatile, but still gives you all the levels of features that you wanted to. And again, from a price point of view, when you compare it to the likes of maybe the manufacturer's version of it, this one I think has a bit more of a flexibility, because you know, with the 4 sizes you've got more options, and with the flexibility you can obviously alter the side panel. It doesn't really matter how big or small you want to go for. Naturally, obviously, when you don't have the front panel in place, you've just got the side, so it gives you obviously a bit more shelter from the wind on either side. But as previously mentioned, really, I'd say it's more of a fair weather even with it in. So if you do get kind of those windy conditions, I would recommend maybe not necessarily having your wind out anyway, although it does add more additional structure. For me, yeah, it's one of those things that is obviously more risk of it getting damaged, for example, in those kind of higher winds. But I think from a ceiling point of view, certainly against the rain and things like that, I think works really, really nicely. It's just a touch of the details of how it looks, the fabric you have, the way it's been stitched together, the zips, the poppers, the ability to add sort of curtains with the privacy when you want it to. It just all works really, really quite nicely. For more information, of course, you're always welcome to check the link below this video, where we've got our sort of all the prices, I think, located on our website, from all the different sizes, with obviously the sides or kind of the fronts, so it depends on kind of what you want to go for. And then the curtains, you can also again buy as an optional extra. There's 2 different sizes of those depending on which you go for, whether you go for the 270 or the 320, and then there's a separate one for the 370 and then also the 420. Apologies for rabbiting on a lot. It's obviously a lot to get through with this particular awning, but generally I think it's a really nice optional extra and something that is something a little bit different, but obviously it's becoming more and more popular with these kind of wind-out awnings, is having something in more enclosure. So why not go to the level with Isabella and the fabric and the breathability and the longevity that we know and love with the actual brand itself. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any more questions or queries, feel free to comment below this video. Of course, you're welcome to check out our whole YouTube channel, where we've got a whole back catalogue of all Isabella awnings and other brands as well. But really, that's kind of our little video review on this brand new Isabella Buddy in the 4 sizes. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again soon in our next Attwoolls review video.